Alright gang, welcome back to the Failed Breakdown channel, here with another trade recap from Wednesday, January the 7th, 2026. Going to be looking at the 69.85 level and a few different options you had to trade around that one. I've got IMMW with me here today. Kind of try to cut down the length of these videos, so we'll be ripping through it as quickly as we can. As always, we're just trying to follow the method taught by Adam Mancini to the best of our abilities. And really, we're just going to be focusing on the four main steps of the failed breakdown today. So the significant low, the flush, the reclaim, acceptance, including acceptance and entry, and then trade management after that. So with that, let me bring up the chart. I've got the 4 hour on the left and 15-minute on the right. You can see we're kind of recording this a little bit in the afternoon. Coming into the session though, we had 69.85 marked out from the newsletter, with the trade plan being for the 81 level beneath, which was the first support down, to hold and then recover the 85. And we'd already started to establish the shelf of lows in the afternoon yesterday, just a little bit above the 85 level. So there was the option to maybe adjust this level up to 86. And that continued to be a shelf, a very clear shelf with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe more touches on it for multiple hours into the evening session before it lost, became a little bit of resistance, and then we started the process of accepting and recovering it shortly after the London Open, which is the little grey shaded area on my chart here. So yeah, with that we got first step is the 86, the significant low, and then the flush. I think the problem with the flush here was there was nothing scary about it, right? The volatility was really low, and we're just kind of lazily grinding through it. But we did lose it, we did flush, and we had some good acceptance of it afterwards coming into the pre-market. So the acceptance, if I just erase all that, and I started off London, which was right around 3:30, 3:15 Eastern time, where we dipped, we returned to the level, tested it, and then dipped again. And then coming into the pre-market at 7:15 and then 7:45, we had two retests from below, each one dipping about 5 points. 5 points off the first one, 4 points off the second one. So each of those dips kind of reducing in size. So perfect type 1 acceptance, and then we push through with the reclaim. So a nice easy trigger there, with that reclaim, a slight increase in momentum coming up through it. So had all the elements from a trade management standpoint. Then the stop goes below the lowest low, which is right around 75-ish. So about a 15-point stop on that one, and then take profit at first level up, which was, I'm not sure exactly where it was, but using these highs is a good guide if you don't have all of Adam's levels marked on the chart. So maybe around 1991, and then leaving the runners to run. So anything you wanted to add on that one, I am?
Yeah, so I think, like you mentioned, I think the best entry option was definitely right after the 815. A little bit of burst in volatility there because we had two nice rejections, type 1 rejections from below on that 86 shelf. Um, so that kind of set up a nice little run up. And then also, if you wanted to be a little extra patient and wait, we also did have a little bit of that type 2 around 9 a.m. where we sold back down from 90, tested the 86 shelf, bounced there again at 9:30, and that was also kind of a secondary entry option. If so, one thing I'd like to highlight is if you can see, this is kind of like a perfect example, right, of like price just magnetizing to a level. You can see that like price has just not been able to let go of this 86 shelf essentially from yesterday afternoon. So that's always a good thing and something you want to see when trying to trade a failed breakdown around a level. Um, you can see that the dog clearly wanted 86. So you just kind of Want to keep making sure that it's sticking to that price, and you see a little bit of momentum, you can kind of go ahead and take the long right above it.
Yeah, for the type 2 acceptance here, you know, but when this was starting to form, we're getting real close to the open, so you probably wanted to wait for that. I've switched this to a 5 minute chart now. You probably wanted to wait for that five, at least that first 5 minutes of the open before entering there. The nice thing was it did lose the level. Um, yeah, I think Adam mentioned that in his newsletter yesterday. With Type 2 acceptance, it's ideal if you can lose if it price loses the significant low um, by a little bit before coming back up. We don't always get that with Type 2. It sometimes, like these swings here, it sort of tests the level perfectly and bounces, but right off the open, we just flushed under it by a point or something like that before lifting up. So yeah, couple of entries there on that one. Neither of us traded it, so uh, let's talk a little bit about that. Why didn't we trade it? Why didn't you trade it? I'll let you go.
Yeah. So to be honest, the first entry option at 8:15, I was feeling a little sick today, so I slept in for an extra hour, so I just wasn't awake to take that one. And the other thing too, even if I was, and obviously there were some other chances to take a stab at it later. One of the things I think is important to know is, to have a good distinction of when to be on the offense and when to be on the defense, right? And so a lot of that to me has to do with kind of market conditions and also where you personally are at, where you're trading for, maybe the current day or the current week. So, for me, when I kind of come in today, right, the things I'm looking at is ultimately I'm still holding my long runner, the 68.73 failed breakdown from Friday. So I have a long runner currently that's already active by over 110 points coming into the day. I've already had two good trades already for the week, one on Sunday night and then one yesterday. So we've already now had a big rally for the last couple of days. So to me, this is a time where I'm start to playing a little bit more on the defensive side, which means, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious about what I engage in, the sizing I engage in. I'm gonna try to just to protect the profits I have and just be a little bit more on the defense. So I think that's something that's important sometimes, just knowing, when there's times to play defense and when there's times to be a little bit more aggressive and, you know, engage in some more setups, especially, the bigger fat pitch setups. So for me today was just a perfect example. I'm just gonna kind of be a little bit lazy and hold my runner, and kind of just play a little bit more defense and be a little cautious until we get either some better mode 2 basing structure or just a much larger cell that can kind of set us up into some better context.
Yeah, that's thanks for that. That's great advice there. For me, I don't have that same excuse because I'm not in a runner. And I know I've said before, you just got to take every setup that presents and not pick and choose. I think I said that just a couple of days ago. Um, However, for me, it was just a combination really of the context and the lack of volatility, which kept me sidelined today. So in the broader context, us just being, oops, wrong chart, us just being up in the stratosphere, kind of on the 4 hour and the longer term. So up trading up near the high of day from yesterday and the high of the 5 day range. Not ideal, not super fertile ground, and then the volatility just not being there. We never got that scary flush. We never really had a lot of price just wasn't moving freely, and I've gotten into trouble with that in the past. So I'm okay staying sidelined on this one, and I'll wait for something better. Hopefully, down at the 75 level is starting to look a bit more interesting now. But let's see, 85's been holding up pretty well here. We may be getting a fourth entry around it right now, but I won't be engaging that one either. Okay,
Yep.
anything else you want to add to close out?
No, I think that's it. So yeah, definitely, one of those days where it's just a little bit slower moving after a big rally. Context is, just given where we are at the highs. So, you either take a setup that's there. There were a couple opportunities to get in to a little bit of a shelf failed breakdown, or, just hold your runner and stay sidelined and wait for some better context.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We will catch you in the Discord, catch you in the next one. Hope the shorter format is more digestible. And yep, we'll catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.